Hi guys, this is our another session, and basically welcome to the Mind Byte presented by TecMan. This is our first session of Mind Byte on uh, PMO governance series. Our strategic partners are Architect Solution, OGMC, Node Cipher, and Delta One. So this is basically a series. So we will be having the upcoming sessions on other topics for the governance, PMO governance, that will be mostly covering about how to build high impact project management offices, how to apply the psychometric planning, how we can focus on the growth of the organization. So every letter of the growth word is basically showing something. And we have some other session in October, November regarding the private life of management and breed better management, and we will look into the inside familiar management. So these are the basically management topics we will be covering in this series. And on the top of that, from the January 2026, we will be starting on resource performance measurement. And we will talk more about the PMO frameworks. We will talk about the PMO lifecycle and processes, and how we can use PMO for implementation and resource planning. So today's session is basically regarding agile organizational transformation. So I'm not the single speaker here. With me is Zeeshan Ali. He will be the co-speaker here on this session. So can we move to the presentation, Zishan?
I hope you guys
Uh,
can see my screen.
yes, I can see, and hope the viewers can also see.
Okay.
And yes,
Yeah.
please carry on.
Thank you, Saqib, and hello, hi everyone. And I think Saqib gave a good introduction of about our upcoming sessions and overview of this session as well. So basically, we will be starting with agile organizational transformation. It's a very important topic as far as our, you can say, experience is concerned over the last 20, 25 years. But we have learned. So I think it's a good platform to share this information with you guys. Uh, as Saqib mentioned, we have a few partners who have contributed a lot for us to bring this session to you. Like apart from TecMan, we have Architect, obviously the parent company, and then Centric and OGMC, the main contributors for this session. Uh, Before we start, just a brief introduction of myself. My name is Zeeshan Ali, and I'm working as a vice president of PMO and transformation at Architect. And I have like 24 years of experience, more than 24 years of experience, and I have completed like over 150 projects during my career. And as far as trainings are concerned, I have conducted over 100 training sessions, and I have over 75 books which are available on major bookstores. Uh, I have certifications, different certifications like PMP, ACP, and Scrum, Agile, and other than that, a couple of technical ones like OCP and CSA for service CSA. And my expertise are basically PMO, GRC, governance, and risk management, and obviously service. So for introduction of Saqib, I think I will hand over to Saqib.
Yeah, thank you, Zishan. So not very different other than the name. So as you know, my name is Saqib Javed John, and I'm also vice president in Architect Solutions for Global Operations and Resource Skill Enhancement (RSE). So very similar profile. I have also 25 plus years experience working on different sectors in public and private sector, and also across the different countries. So again, I have a good number of projects as well. 100 plus trainings we have already delivered. Certifications, yes, these are the milestones I have achieved. I have done PMP, project management professional, Agile certified practitioner, also an ITIL. This, which is you all IT guys know as well. It's IT infrastructure library certification. I have done with CSA ServiceNow. It's a certified system administrator, ServiceNow administrator, and also Sun certified Java programmer and Sun certified web component developer. So we are the co-authors. I mean, like all the books which mentioned by Zishan are basically the co-authored. So we have a similar number of books which are available on Amazon and other different channels. So this is basically a very quick introduction. So we're not going into much details, which projects we have worked and what activities we have performed there. So I think so. It's a so far so it's enough introduction for this session. Okay, coming to the actual the topic of the day. So I hope you will be having a very good presentation here, uh, along with the the experience we will be sharing. So all the organizations and even the small, medium, large scale, even individuals, they all are actually facing very uh, different kind of they are facing different kind of challenges, and that is basically a kind of a, you can say, harsh reality. So that's why I'm saying let's ready for let's ready to see that what harsh reality we are talking about, what kind of challenges we are talking about. So if we move to the next slide is basically presenting the same thought, that if you will fire up one stick here, that will fire up definitely consequently to the other sticks here. So uh, in next 15 to 20 minutes we will be talking about what kind of challenges actually the organizations mostly face. So I will be going into more detail about the each challenge first. So let's build the ground first, that what kind of challenges we are talking about, and how then we can understand that how agile can help us to mitigate or to resolve the problem. So as you can see in the picture, like it's quite tough, and I think so it's a very calculated positioning of the stones, which is basically uh, to make this balance as seen in the screen. So balancing the quality and balancing the growth, or balance, you can say, balancing between the quality and growth is basically uh, challenge at the moment for everyone, not for organizations, but I think for the individuals as well. So the point here is, which I want to elaborate in this first challenge, that you know every organizations need the balance between the four things actually: between the people, between the processes, between their priorities, between the capabilities. So these are the main four areas which they want to make the balance, because in terms of people, skills development is a very big challenge. In terms of processes, the validation is the biggest challenge. In terms of prioritization is uh, you know prioritization is good, but that is needed on all levels of the organization, so that's a challenging part. And definitely at the same time, advancing in the technical capabilities and expertise is equally challenging matter at the moment. So organizations are basically struggling and facing challenges between these four major areas. um, and uh, challenge is to find the common ground between the perfection and the growth. So if I summarize the whole slide, that is the basic line, that the organizations are looking for some common ground between the perfection and growth. Moving forward to the next challenge, uh, that is basically another very prominent challenge, everyone is facing, all organizations facing, that is to focus on the workflow, how to focus on the workflow, how to focus on communication, how to focus on, the processes management or process management. Companies mostly struggle due to the lack of consistency, or you can say the sometimes they struggle because of the over complexity in the workflows, which ultimately becomes the reason of overall inconsistent communication, and sometimes uneven processes, sometimes unreliable tracking as well, or monitoring as well. So focusing on the workflow is the challenge, is another common challenge of uh, all kind of organizations, small, medium, and large scale. And if I move to the next challenge is about the strategic relationship with the customers, which is the you can say one of the top challenge, right? No matter the company is small, big, what size, if you even at the individual level, your relation with the customer, your relation with the, let's say if you are a single owner, so then even not running a big company, but relationship with the customer does matter. Building strong relationship and bridging the gap with the customer has very direct impact on market share and the business continuity. So strategic relationship are always long term. It should be very long term, and but it's a harsh fact that the short term gains, are not easy to get. So this is one of the biggest challenge which we will talking about. Next challenge is about organizational structure to be flexible and well networked. This is basically right, the right structuring of the organization is another challenge. Like even organizations with the 10 years, with the 20 years, they keep thinking whether we are having the right structure or not, or let's restructure, reorganize, let's develop new project organizations or product organizations. So they always it can be always a challenging part, because an organization structure is a system, it is a guidance, it is an outline which defines rules, roles, responsibilities, and flow of information. So everything is depending upon the hierarchy which you are designing, or we are designing within the organizations. We myself, Zishan, we worked with some organizations, with some same organizations as well. So we experience that many organizations remain confused about their structure, whether they should be, let's say, more, I will use the terminologies. So they will be, confusing that they should be traditional, or they should be agile, or they should work as a functional organization, or they should work as a, divisional organization. They always keep thinking whether centralized structure is better or decentralized structure is better. So this is another challenge at the moment the companies are facing. So the next challenge is basically to adopt a process and try to fit in the things. This is you know it's about the right mindset, or bad mindset, or you can say. Uh, why I'm saying this? Because it's a very common challenge, especially in the newly established organizations. Sometimes they first they adapt a process, and then they try to fit things accordingly, like a puzzle piece, trying to fit in the things after selecting the framework, after selecting the technique, after selecting the tool. However, in fact, realistically, they should draw and customize the process according to their own specific business needs, and then select the tool, technique, technology, or process even. So the point is, the challenge is that the companies, the biggest mistake they're doing is They first select the framework and then they set the people in, or they first select the tool and then they try to make the people according to that tool or technique. So better first identify the need and then it should be vice versa. I think so. The next one will be the last challenge which I would like to highlight here in this session, and that is most of the companies, they don't know when to embrace the change. So knowing this fact is basically is not a default quality or default capability of every organization. This is basically, these things definitely comes with experience when you should change what you're doing at the moment, because change can be a lot harder. And so normally company thinks, the top management thinks, why to change, and then the question comes how to change. And then even more harder question comes, actually when to change. And this is the biggest challenge which usually organizations face. We normally suggest organizations to switch off their inner know-it-all policy and get expert opinion and and get the new trends and get the new techniques of working. So you, if you don't know, you can hire someone, or you can consult with someone, with some industrial experts, that how and when you can, who you should embrace the change. So these all are, which I talked about like the last 10-15 minutes, that the challenges we have is basically balancing the quality and growth, between the growth and focus on the workflow. I said strategic relationship with the customer is a challenge. Organize structure to be flexible and well networked. It is a challenge. Adapt a process and try to fit in the things. Another challenge. And the most important is the companies are not aware that when to change, when to embrace the change actually. So let's move forward and see when they are not dealing rightly with the challenges, they are actually converting into the problems. So challenge is a known fact, but if you avoid, or if you close your eyes and if you ignore that, that challenge will be becoming a problem to you, right? So so as I said, inappropriate dealing with the organization level challenges finally convert into the problems. And in result, as quite obvious here on this slide, you can see all four mentioned problems are deeply interlinked. Any one of them has an obvious tendency to become the root cause of the other three problems. Like poor workflow can trigger the lack of information. They can trigger the vague guidance, and the same way the lack of information can trigger poor workflow, vague guidance, and inappropriate decisions, or when decision is done by so many people, when no one taking accountability, no one is taking the ownership of that. In the same case, vague guidance can trigger poor workflow and lack of information, and vice versa. So each one of these problem can trigger the other three problems. So then again, I reiterate that if we are not dealing with the challenges appropriately, they will be converting into problems that we, as we can see on the slide. So next one is basically solutions. What are the solutions of the problems which we mentioned on the last screen? Um, Ideally, yeah, the strategic leadership of the organization, should be always open to accept the needful change. So this kind of flexibility, this kind of adaptability is actually start from the leader's side, leadership side. So I think what we suggest, so keep evaluating and keep validating the processes to make a right quality mix of the planning and monitoring and control, and maximize the automation in business and managed workflows, or better workflows. So as we discussed in the previous slide, problems, now we are talking about the solutions, and even you can say it also having the triggering effect with each other. If you're open to change, then only you can make a right mix. If you are having a good strategic relationship, then only you can talk about and you think about the innovation and you think about making the business processes more automated. So either it's a problem or it's a solution. These always having the triggering effect on the each others. So moving forward into the action side, like we talk about the problem, we talk about the solution. Now, what kind of actions we need to take to get the things done or get the things closer to the objectives. So in terms of actions, as you can see now, we reached the point where we need to see actions which can minimize the problems by implementing the solutions which we discussed on the very last slide. Once again, this slide is very, very consciously designed to present the interlinking of actions where one action has an ultimate and pass on positive effect on the other actions. Let's, for example, you can see on the screen that converting control into commitment is a perfect example of change in work culture, and embracing the feedback is the sign of systematic thinking. So these all are having the pass on effect on each other, right? So if your culture has become a change acceptable culture, then definitely you will be getting more feedback, you will be entertaining more feedbacks, you will be uh, more customer centric. I mean, your product or your project or whatever your service is, that is more customer feedback oriented. So you're closer to what actually the customer needs from your side. And definitely the systematic thinking also helps to think about the different alternatives of the same problem, how to solve. So there's no one way to solve the things in a right way. There are multiple. So creative thinking or systematic thinking always helps to and talk about the different kind of solutions, and then you select which one is the right one, again with the through the team efforts. These are basically now we are reached to we covered the two stages of this session. One is when we talking about the challenges, the second one where we discussed about the problem solutions and actions. Now we are moving into the why agile organizational transformation. So this is basically the question why. So on our next slide, we will see the question why agile, why organizational, and why transformation. So uh, you know, if I respond why agile is basically you can say in short. Let me tell you, agile is basically a mindset. It's not a technique, it's a mindset, it's culture. And wow, I mean a way of work and a collection of various methodologies and techniques which are basically based on which are basically more realistic, you can say more flexible, more practical, more collaborative. And agile is always helpful and equally effective for the teams, for the individuals, for the companies, and on at all levels. It has most natural mechanism to achieve and maintain the customer satisfaction. And this is the reason we are saying that we should use agile for the transformation purpose. And the next one, we will be talking about that why organizational. So why organizational is basically uh, that is related to an like again approach, because organization approach has the trickle down leadership effect on departments and even individuals, uh, to reshape the overall workflow of the organization, to reinvent the business environment, to restructure, and to make it more sustainable, more usable. you know so this is basically when we think, we should think not on an individual level, we should think on organizational level. So if you want to reshape, you need to reshape organization first. If you want to make the processes better, you need to make the organization processes better first. Rather than focusing on the individuals, we need to more focus on the high level, because they have the more trickle down effect rather than they working on individuals. So you know uh, that's why I said, if you change the mindset of the leadership, then definitely it will have the good impact on the rest of the company and the rest of the people working with that leadership. So things, this is basically top to down. So because if it's a top to down, then it means we are talking about, we should focus on the organizations first, and then focus on the individuals later and their processes. So the next is why transformation. I mean, like, we talk about why agile, we talk about why organizational, and now it's time to talk about why transformation, why it's needed. Uh, it is needed because it is important, and it is a convergence of organization objectives into, accurate productivity through the effective utilization of resources. So transformation always gives you better utilization, more optimized utilization, more focused, prioritization. So that is why it's not about organization only; it's about all individuals as well. The transformation is mandatory. It's about rethinking to generate new value. It is about, you can say, unlocking the new opportunities, and at the same time it's about drive and deliver the new efficiencies. So if you are not transforming, no efficiencies, no new delivery, no new opportunity, you're unlocking nothing. So transformation is mandatory. And I think, as I said, uh, another thing which is important, we should apply this transformation on the organization first. And if we are applying the transformation on the organization, then agile is one of the better method to do this process. um, how how the details are involved into applying this agile method into the transformation process of organization, I will be handing over this part to the expert, Zishan. So he will be showing us through his experience and how, how agile is good for transformation in at organizational level. Over to you, Zishan. Thank you.
Thank you, Saqib. Thank you for elaborating quite in-depth analysis of the problems organizations having in especially implementing in Agile itself. Uh, this session actually is based on an overview of a framework which we have designed to kind of cater those challenges, right? A detailed session, a one-day session on all that framework is available, which you can subscribe. Obviously, it's a paid session, one-day full session. You can always subscribe it by visiting TecMan website or OGMC website or RTTech website, any of those websites, right? So I will just go through the overview of that framework, that how we suggest that organizations can adopt uh, transforming into can transform into an agile organization, right? So the framework basically works around three pillars, right? First one is the architecture itself, right? The approach, the architecture which an organization can use to be agile at the organizational level, right? And once those are in place, the architecture is in place, then obviously the next come is the directions and the accountability, right? Obviously, the duties, the responsibilities, and obviously the accountability process to monitor those things. And then at the end, the third one is the risks and involved, and the governance stream, which obviously is there to you can say guide through the application of the architecture, right? So we will go through these each pillar one by one, and they have all, you can say, divided into five different subsets, or you can say activities or modules, whatever you can call it. So starting off with the first one, that is a transformational approach and architecture, right? So it is important to you can say select the right approach for organization, right? It should be based on the culture, the norms, and the uh, targets the company has in order to achieve where they want to be. For example, as Saqib mentioned, it's very common for companies to adopt a adapted approach and then try to fit things in, which is not the right way to go about it, right? Because the thing is that we in our career as well, we see that the organization, they really like the agile. You can because it's kind of catchy, or you can say it's the future. But still, every organization cannot be agile, right? Because the reason is there are few parameters or few prerequisites which has to be fulfilled in order to achieve that goal. So for organizations, those are looking to go agile, so uh, they can think on these lines and see that how they can adapt to that. The good thing about agile is obviously, as Saqib also mentioned, that it is very flexible, right? So there are lots of models there, agile models there. There are a lot of techniques there, which can be further modified according to your organization. It is not necessary that you imply those all those things as it is. For example, the stand-up meeting, it has different kind of variations. Generally, it's a 15-minute meeting, but still, there are organizations, even myself, we have used it in different manners as well to meet the goals and all those things, right? And so, if you talk about agile transformation approach, our framework, it should have an emergent architecture. As I said, that us going going agile with a static frame of mind won't really work. It's like kind of an elaborative. Once you uh, apply something, over the time you learn, right? And in different iterations, you see that which are things which are important to the organization, to the people, to the customer, and all those uh, involved in the organization, right? So that's how the strategy is formed, and how the architecture is formed, right? It should be adaptive, right? uh, it should be integrated in a manner that it you can say encompasses all the stakeholders, right? uh, Again, it shouldn't be a fixed mindset, it should be a dynamic perspective. Everybody should have a say in it, and it should be like that. And uh, it should be at enterprise level. It should, you can say that, not just for a department level, or not for some exceptions. It should be for all over the organization. Obviously, it transformed the way people work, right? Uh, there is one concept in agile that the people should be generalists, not specialists. The reason that means that they should be able to do uh, their you can say skill set, not necessarily all the time, but the thing is that it avoids bottlenecks. Whenever you implement something, obviously there might be possibility that your short on resources, or you can say financially you are challenged. So those people who are able to work cross functional and cross departmental, obviously they are more effective, and those are like uh, they help in reducing waste. And that's the concept of obviously that lean concept is there, that we should be able to reduce waste, right? And obviously that comes once we are focused on a particular goal at the organization level, so then all the waste is removed, right? And it should be built as a culture, not just as a, you can say, as something which is forced to any organization, right? And then comes adaptive planning approaches, right? And it's as I said earlier, we you have to change, right? And it has to be adaptive, um, not necessarily based on requirements, but also you learn from your competition as well. There are few legal implementations which you have to cater, right? And to cater which you have to make some changes to your organizations, right? And obviously the people you are working for and people you're working with, like your customers and your teams, you have to both of them, take care of both of them. Why? Because these are the people who will be the part of the core part or the core essence of agile in an organizational level. And as I said earlier, everything once you remove waste, you should be focused more on productivity, usability, scalability, all those things, right? That the solution you have implemented, the culture you are building in your organization, it should be scaled to any n number of resources, right? Or a number of sub organizations working under this umbrella. And it is acceptable by the customer as well, the stakeholders, the team. They should be able to accept that as well, right? And usability, it's an important point, because usability, obviously if you it's whatever you are implementing, if it's not reusable, then you're producing a lot of waste. And that's what we discussed earlier, that it shouldn't be there, right? Doing agile versus being agile, that's again something is that we always discuss, is that being agile is different from doing agile. The reason is the agile should be implemented at the very top level, the senior most level. It comes from top, not from top to bottom, not from bottom to top, right? So the people sitting at the top, they should be working with. They should have the better understanding of that agile implementations, and they should understand the value it bring, and obviously they should have a, you can say, long term view, so that they can, you can say, whenever there are any problems in during the implementation, or there are challenges, uh, obviously they shouldn't be just pushing for rollbacks. Obviously they should be able to understand that they should be able to see the whole, or you can say the future or future implementations. So their commitment is something which is very important. The high level commitment, high level senior management's commitment is the most important thing, which is part of this. So basically, if I summarize this whole approach and architecture, it is based, you can say, it comes from the top, right? And it should be based on the people working in teams and the customer, right? And the ground realities around the organization. It shouldn't be just picked first and then try to enforce people to work in that way. It should be more like the way people are working and how the organization want them to work, right? Moving on to the second pillar, agile risk and governance stream. Obviously, whenever we implement something, it has its challenges, it has its risk, and it has its it requires governance to overcome those risks as well. Mapping the value stream, it is important. that the right culture, the right mindset is implemented, right? Uh, as I said, it takes time. Uh, excuse me. When the agile is implemented in an organization, obviously the teams are not used to working in that model or in those following those practices. They face a lot of challenges, right? There are so many grays areas in their mind. Obviously they need the better understanding uh, for the right, you can say, value stream, so that they are able to make the right decision at the right time, right? And obviously, um, there are always exceptions whenever you implement something, but a process is agile, or you can say flexible or effective, which can, you can say, cater for those exceptions, and it can then gradually absorb that exception in itself. Again, it should be a real world application, right? Reason why we are saying that, I think, just give me 1 minute. Sorry about that. Okay. uh, the clarity of purpose should be there, right? And the application of agile is more effective when it's not just, you can say, transparent, but also it everybody is able to understand the core essence of this implementation, right? And obviously, as I mentioned earlier, that they should be able to understand the uh, value of each thing, and the information, they understand where the information is coming from, where it is going, and they are able to then logically prioritize the requirements of the things, right? Agile environment, again, this is something which is very important, which has to be built in. It's a very big risk uh, if an organization decided to implement agile, and it doesn't, you can say, train its teams, or don't build the culture, then it won't work, right? uh, as I said, journalists are preferred in agile, right? Those cross functional empowerment, obviously the people can work with each other and talk to each other, and balanced improvement, right? Gradually they're improving, they're learning how they learn from each other, right? And another good thing about Agile is that it has a fast feedback, not from just from the teams, but also from the customer itself, right? So the working and the changes are more based on ground realities, more better understanding among the stakeholders. Agile risk management, obviously, it can be done through, you can say, a lot of processes, lots of practices, right? Uh, but there is one thing that we need to understand, that agile is not something which is, you can say, doesn't have any boundaries. It's not like that. Obviously it has some boundaries, right? And as I mentioned earlier, every uh, team might differ in few practices, but overall, the, you can say, the concepts, the principles should remain the same, right? And again, uh, one company, if might be very successful in using certain uh, framework, agile framework, but not necessarily that is effective for the other companies as well, or you can say that it can be said for the department as well, right? So it has to be, you can say, tweaked for every department, for every company, and it should be non-stop process, right? And it shouldn't be static, right? It should, like, it shouldn't be one way, right? And obviously risk responses, monitoring and control is common thing, which like in project management, it's a common how to manage. Okay. Obviously everybody needs helps, right? And the governance is always required at every level. right? Maybe it could be at the top level, understanding which framework to use, then implementing it, and then working with the teams and so on. So basically, it should be uh, again, it should be someone who has, you can say, uh, neutral to all the stakeholders, right? So it's always a good idea to hire an external consultant to for the governance part, right? Because uh, it helps the organization to, you can say, visualize their future roadmap, and similarly enable the customer and the organization work together to sort of where they want to be, right, and how they want to achieve that goal. So that is part of the strategy, right? Like if you're going agile, so that how those two entities will going to be work, right? And obviously uh, training, regular audits, and obviously internal audits and external audits. That's a part of the governance which is required at every level. So to summarize this, agile, there are lots of risks. It should be agile, should be, you can say, based on ground realities, right? It should be uh, gradually embedded in the teams. The teams should be able to learn and adopt agile, and it should be a built-in culture for the organization. The third and last pillar, agile directions and accountability. Obviously, with all the uh, direction, you have to be clear about in agile. You have to be clear about the roles and the responsibilities, right? And for the controls, obviously, agile has quite well defined events and artifacts, right? There are few ceremonies which are well known ceremonies, agile ceremonies, which are used: sprint planning, retrospective, and daily stand up, one of the most popular one. So those are used obviously to uh, control the direction of the implementation, reporting, backlog, ceremonies, all those things, right? And again, I know that general perception about agile is that the change can occur at any time, but it's not just like that. Actually, it still has some, you can say, boundaries, some process, some rules, right? You cannot just change the sprint, you can scope of the sprint itself. Obviously, if there is some changes, it has to come in the next sprint, and the team should be working from sprint to sprint and focus from one sprint to the second, right? As I mentioned, setting clear roles and direction. It is important to build a discipline, right? And everybody should be able to understand its responsibilities. Obviously, uh, uh, you can always work cross-functional and help others, but you should able to understand what is actually your responsibility. Okay, and the role of agile leadership is very important in this regard, right? uh, they should work with the teams to make them understand what kind of, you can say, for their roadmap and their understanding, and building a culture. And then gradually, uh, again, it comes from the top level as well. The top management also has to adopt that uh, mindset as well. And stop, drop, drive, deliver, safe to fail. This is a technique actually, basically, that be innovative, try things in a manner that if you fail, so that there is no harm done, you're always safe. So basically, this approach helps the teams to be more innovative, because that is when the real effectiveness of agile organization comes out, and that is where the teams are more effective uh, than the normal teams, right? Organizational agility and governance, obviously, at uh, team level, at middle level, at top level, there has to be uh, processes, different processes that you can say keeps a checks on the implementation of agile, uh, on being agile, and as I Upskilling creative talent pipeline. Again, you have to make your resources innovative. You have to give them space to, you can say, experiment, to take risks, build something which is, you can say, extraordinary, and obviously train them. So this will obviously helps in uh, the organizations to grow. Tools and techniques, obviously there are many best practices there, technical excellence, how to overcome spikes and all those things. And there are charts, there are refactoring, there are retrace traceability. Again, you have to review whatever you have built or you are doing. Keep, you can say, improving yourself as a team, as an organization. Keep reviewing how you can say make the improvements. Accountability, obviously, without accountability, the roles and all those things and all are not effective. So you should have some kind of ROI which is well defined, clear to end. As I mentioned earlier, you can have internal audits, you can have external audits, just to understand which areas you are lacking behind, or your team is lacking behind, or the organization is lacking behind. So which should be, uh, and set targets accordingly. That, for example, to achieve a certain level of security, we will complete these certifications at organization level, and for that we have to prepare like 5 to 6 people for that, and so on. Obviously, that that's focused on building business value. Customer feedback is important in developing that, and again, criticism, questioning, and relearning. These are part of all those part of agile accountability structure. Right. So basically, to summarize this, uh, uh, artifacts and directions are important in setting directions and keeping a control, and well-defined roles, best practices are important, and obviously there should be a mechanism to keep a check on that. So good luck with the transition for all those organizations who are looking, who are thinking about going agile. Again, the thing is that it has to come from the top, and once you can say you have decided, then see that which strategy or which framework is actually close to the ground realities. Adopt that, uh, implement that, and you can say uh, implement that with your teams, with your stakeholder, all the stakeholders, and then improve that. Keep and check on that. Okay. Best of luck. Okay. So that's from my side.
I
Okay.
think yes, we have some questions as well. Uh, yes, there is one question. Shan, you will be taking it, or I think it's my kind of more. Let me answer. So
Just a
the
sec.
question is, his question is, why do organizations go through the agile transformation? So of course, this is very interesting question, but at the same time, a bit tricky as well. However, on this topic, you and me can talk for another 1 hour. But let me first simplify the question for our viewers. Uh, the question is, why organizations should choose, or why they should prefer agile technique for the transformation. So, yes, the reason is very obvious. Agile methods can give you better and quick results for sure. And I would start saying that Agile helps to change organizational mindset. That's the reason. But the question is, again, the question within the question is how. So by shifting how people think, how they collaborate, and how they deliver value. This is not about changing any process, my friends. It's about cultural cultural rethinking. And let me give you some, experience-based examples that, you know, the old mindset is basically the managers mostly direct. It's a kind of a spoon feeding. They are having the more controlled environment, and they make all the decisions. But in agile mindset is basically we empower teams to self-organize, to take the ownership, and to make decisions. So the answer is basically it's a mind shift from control to trust. Another example which is coming into my mind is regarding the old mindset is basically when the people are more stick to a fixed and orthodox plans, and they resist changes because there is fear of the failure, which is very obvious and everyone feels that. But agile mindset is basically embrace the change, you know welcome the change, respond to the feedback, and readjust as quick as possible. So change becomes an opportunity, uh, in fact, not a threat. So here you can say the conclusion is the mindset shift from the predictability to adaptability. So this is again, one of the agile principle. And old mindset is definitely always measure success by how much is produced. But agile mindset is basically how we deliver the value to the customer. So it's a difference between the output and outcome. Agile is more focusing on output, while the traditional methods are more focusing on output only. So let's believe that outcomes are better than value outcomes are better than just outputs. So focus is shifting from doing more to doing what matters. So it's not about we do more. It's about what we do that should matter. That should add value to the customer. And another reason why agile helps to shift from silos to collaboration. Always the old mindset is basically departmental work separately and with limited communication between each other, while the agile is more cross functional, and agile focuses to work together and closely and transparently. So breaks down the barrier and build the teamwork is basically the slogan, you can say, of the agile. So let's focus on the progress rather than just perfection. And these are the reasons why I think I'm answering the question rightfully, that this is the reason that organizations should choose the agile for the transformation purpose. I think there is another question. Let me see. Yes. Is agile only for the software development? Of course not. Agile is basically not depending on this, that what kind of industry is. And it's obviously not for the software development only. Agile principles apply to many other areas of business and operations. I have worked with a lot of companies where basically I've seen agile in marketing, agile in human resource, agile in the product development, agile in operations, even in agile in the customer service, and even in educational and training institutes. They also adapt the agile technique, and they use agile for the portfolio management and project management. And these days, you have seen or heard about that agile HR or people ops. Basically, it's also known as agile people operations. So, purpose is to focus. You should focus actually on the purpose and how the value can be delivered, how the culture can be redesigned, and more focus on the feedback you are receiving from different departments. These can be the organizations, these can be your department as well as marketing, HR, product, development, operations. These are all departments, and this is not for IT organizations. Again, I'm saying it is for the all kind of organizations. It's a mindset, it's a thinking process, or you can say it's a transition from a traditional towards the more flexible uh, thought process. So that is my answer. And I think we have another question. Yes, that's also very interesting. And I think this is if more
I
related to
will
the
take it.
Shan expertise. Yeah, it's about the
Yes, this
KPIs.
is what I'm discussing. This is again something which I discussed that obviously there has to be KPIs to actually agile. Being agile doesn't mean that you have a free hand to do anything and there is no performance related to that. Obviously, there are strict ROIs that has to be there, right? Uh, in terms of KPIs, the first foremost important thing is that how the strategy is aligned with the organization goals and with the customer goals as well. The team obviously comes under organization. So basically, the organization and the customer, both their preferences or their strategies or their objectives should be aligned for the first most important ROI, right? And then again, the operational, you can say, efficiency and agility, for example, the process, you can say, cycle time, it is important, right? Um, we are working in agile, we are building something, but as a practice, we takes a lot of time. We have to see where we can reduce the waste and improve that cycle time, right? And again, being agile, the foremost important thing is empowering the teams and the uh, implementing the cultural change. Right, as I mentioned earlier, without those, uh, implementing an agile culture is kind of, you can say, next to impossible. Right. I mean, it can be done through, you can say, many technical or technological changes, or you can say maturity levels. But again, being agile means being more relaxed, more easy, right? And the foremost thing I can say is important is the financial impact. Uh, Simply, if anything, which is making, you can say, better money, then obviously it's more effective than the. So that's, I think, a few KPIs. Which obviously there could be others, but depending on
Yeah,
organization. But these are some that comes to my mind.
yes, that's a good one. So there is one other question, Shana. I hope this will be the last we will be taking for this session. Let me show. So what are the major risks associated with the
Okay, what are the
transformation
major risks?
and how they are mitigated?
Well, I always say the most important risk, I think, the most major risk is, you can say, resistance, the adaptability, right? It's the most, you can say, challenge, risk, whatever you call it. For me, it's that always on my uh, top of my list, right? Whenever you implement Agile, there is something which is always missing, uh, is adaptability. There is always resistance. Mostly it comes from team level because they are unable to understand the concept why the change has been implemented. And obviously, generally it is thought as something, a decision, a management level decision. And for that, obviously, you have to train your employees. You have to be transparent. You should be able to define why you are implementing, bringing on this change, or trying to, what you are trying to achieve, what are your goals, or what alignment you and the customer has done, so that the team is part of that journey. It is not, you can say, they are not opposing or kind of those elements which are, you can say, uh, making the, you can say, resistance in. And again, sometimes it's other way around. uh, the management decides to implement agile, and uh, the buy-in is not there anymore. Like for example, uh, I said that the teams will be working in sprints and agile model. Whenever there is some issue, uh, rather than facing that and you can say facing the consequences or ready to pay the price, I blame the agile implementation itself. So that's where the team lose the confidence and the buy-in is not there. So that is something which has to be there. The management has to understand that like everything has a cost. Implementing agile also will have a cost. Obviously there will be some you can say quality issues, some other issues, but gradually they should be able, as I said, they should be able to see the long term picture, right? And other thing again, sometimes the organizations implement, they love to follow the agile model, but the customer is not ready for it, or the you can say the contract is not made as per to follow the agile methodologies or agile uh, practices. So that's again something which needs to be catered before implementing agile. The customers should be taken into consideration, their requirement, their challenges, and all those things, right? And sometimes it happens that the agile, once you implement that, uh, the resources are not really up to that level. I mean, they are good resources, but they are not, you can say, expert in agile methodologies or implementation of agile. So there are some gray areas in their mind. So they have to be trained, they have to be uplifted to ensure that they are able to cater those challenges. And once again, the last one uh, uh, is the risk is the financial one. Sometimes the organization is not you can say have the funds, or you can say the time or something like that to take that you can say leap or that risk.
I think that's
So I
the
think these are
biggest constraint. Yeah, agreed.
that's
So thank you, thanks
template
so much,
things.
Zishan. I think you have explained very well both the KPIs and also the risk, and also you have advised if you want to mitigate or avoid those risks, this is the solution. Take the expert opinion and ready for the hit back as well. I mean, like there could be
Yeah,
some challenges, there could be some something can, I mean, like some few things can be fail in the process, but we should be ready to make it correct and redesign to get the better results and to establish the roadmap of the company towards the more successful journey. So yeah, I agree with all the KPIs and the risks you mentioned and the solutions you advised. Is there anything else which we are
I
going to
think
share?
yes, before I close, I would like to share a few
Mhm.
things with everyone. Just give me a second, I'll share it on screen. I hope you guys can see my screen.
I think yes.
Okay, for knowledge of everyone, we have this book on agile transformation, organization transformation on the same topic, and it's available on 60 plus major bookstores all around the world. You can order directly from them, or you can order it from OGMC website.
Zishan, sorry to
Yeah,
interrupt you. I think your screen is stuck. It's on a question mark.
I don't know. Is it
Or
okay now?
maybe you can run presentation again.
Let me do that thing again.
Hmm.
Let me share it again. I think. Okay, I'm sharing it again. Do let me know if you can see it.
Hmm.
Can you see the book now?
Yeah, you can put on stage. I can see in the
Oh, sorry.
backdrop, but you need to put
Can you
on the
do that,
stage.
please? Can you do that, please? I mean,
Okay, done.
okay, do let me know once you can see my screen. Okay.
Yeah, I can see now. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, as I mentioned, that this book, Agile Organization Transformation, it's available on 60 plus major bookstores, and you can always go to OGMC if you're not able to find it on the bookstores, and you can go to publications.ogmcgroup.com, and here you will find not just this book, and there are like 75 plus books, obviously authored by me and Saqib on project management, PMO, agile methodologies, and service. As far as our sessions are concerned, I mentioned that we have some paid sessions. We have lots of free sessions, upcoming sessions in project management and ServiceNow and information security. So you can visit our website, uh, the TecMan website, and go to the session section, and you will find list of all the upcoming sessions there, and you can always um, sign up for those. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I think,
Thank you, Zishan. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And you can subscribe our YouTube channel and also visit the TechMan Academy. So, see you again after some time.
thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.